So let's start today's session. So in today's session, I'm going to have another hands-on session on sharded cluster in MongoDB. And we have already discussed in theoretically what sharding means. And today we are going to do it as a small practical, as a test environment in our own machine, because ideally we want to have like several machines to do this distributed database architecture that we are going to plan to handle it, because we plan to handle large amount of data. And sharded means we want to horizontally scale the data in multiple machines or in servers. So when we want to partition the data in different shards or multiple MongoDB instances, what we are going to have is several things. Now, especially when we are going to create a sharded cluster on our local machine, we need a couple of steps. Now, first of all, we need to configure the environment. We need to create set of directories for data, which I will explain in a few more minutes. And then we will create or we start what we call the servers. We configure servers. In our example, also we create 3 servers. And then we also create what we call the shards. Right. And then the data will be here. And then we need, like when user wants to query the data, we have to have what we call query server or query router, sometimes we call it. We have MongoS we are going to use. And using this, what we are going to do, whenever user gets a query, user will actually forward it to different shards, and then you will get the answer from multiple sharded nodes. So today we are going to have a very small test environment. We create these configuration servers, we create these shards, the router, and once we do that, right? Once we set up everything, now we will create a cluster environment, and then we enable the sharding into one of the very simple databases, right? And then we perform simple queries and see how the data we retrieve. So that is exactly my plan for today's session, just to give you what we are going to do. Now, when you if you ask me why we had to do this, one is we want to allow the scalability, performance, as well as fault tolerance. Like usual database management system, you will have one database instance, which it fails, the whole system fails. So the one idea would be like once you have the replicability, right? So it supports what we call the fault tolerance, right? So in here, what we do as shards, we are going to divide our data into smaller subsets, and then we can create, usually these, shards will be in different servers and different machines. So then what happens, these shards operate individually, right? And it has its own replica set as well. And this will provide high availability, which we have witnessed last time by creating replicas. Right. Now, 3 things, as I discussed earlier, when we are creating a sharded cluster, we have to configure the servers, right? We have to have shard keys, and then we have query router, the Mongos here, and then we will work with individually with the cluster, right? So let's first show you like my environment. First of all, we have to create several folders in your data sets. So in my case, actually, I have created this data directly within C drive. So according to that, you can also do the same, right? So first of all, let me show you my data structure. So I'm going to share you my folder set. So as you can see, to start our process, creating the configuration servers as well as shards, we are going to create 3 configuration servers as well as 3 shards. So you need like 3 databases. So in my case, what I did, I created 3 databases for configuration servers. I named it that config DB1, config DB2, and config DB3. Similarly, you have to create another 3 for data shards, shard 1, shard 2, shard 3. So you have to create 6 folders. So first create 6 folders. Once you finish the 6 folders, please let me know by raising your hands. Right. So remember what I told you is create 3 folders called config DB1, config DB2, config DB3 under C data folder. You can use different folder. It's up to you. But remember that when I provide the code, you have to change accordingly. Similarly, for data shards, we have shard 1, shard 2, shard 3. Now, these are initially empty. Right now, I don't have any data, but when we run the commands, it will generate some files. In case if there are a failure and if you want to restart from the beginning, make sure that before you run the servers, you should delete any files inside, right? Remember that. Right. Now, let's take a command line. I'm going to start a command line. Let me share my screen. So here is my command line. And first thing is you have to go to your respective directory via Mongo, your MongoDB installation directory. So it's in my case in C. So I have to go to my folder program files. In my case, it's in MongoDB under server 6.0 bin directory. So this is the place I have to be. Assuming if you also have the same place, I'll be sharing the code in the chat. But in case if you are installing a different directory, make sure that you change accordingly, right? Now I'm inside the command line. Let me show you my directory. You have to have these files with you. First of all, Mongo D, our Mongo installation. For today's session, we need Mongo S and our shell, Mongo SH. If you do not have these three, make sure you download and installed. So for example, if you do not have Mongo shell, you have to download separately. Right. Now I told you my first task, right? In here, I'm going to create, once after creating the directories, I have asked you to create 3 directories for configuration servers, 3 directories for the shards. First step, okay, you open up a command line, you go to MongoDB installation directory. Right now, I'm in the installation directory. So let's configure the first server. We are going to create 3 servers. We are going to create 3 servers. So that part we are going to do now first. So let's create 3 servers. Now, one of the issues you might face when you're creating, shells, you have to get shell every time because, for example, let's say what we call when we, let's say when you open up a Mongo sheep, DB instance here, the problem will be you have to open up another shell. So this might be problematic. So today that is okay, but okay, maybe I will open up and show you. And then the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this main window and I will give you a command in Windows where we can create separate, session to run the command, right? Okay, so first of all, let's, I will show you the problem first, and then we'll start from the beginning. Don't do that. You should not do that because otherwise you have to, change everything. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run MongoDB. In this case, configure server. So the command is MongoD, and we are going to config server with the replica set, and replica set name we set configuration replica set, And since we are going to run in the same machine, we are going to use different ports. So worst case, if you have a problem with this port number, you can start with the next port number, because we have last time witnessed some issues. Then I will put the data path. In my case, I told you I'm going to run in data, and then we said config db1. So this is the name I have given earlier. Now, when you type the command, right, this should create the server instance, right, with a replica set. Now let me run. If everything okay, you will see some text, something like that. Now, what I told you is this is a problem because when I want to run another command, I have to take another window, right? Therefore, I'm going to make things a little bit easier for you. Otherwise, this might be troublesome every time you open up a shell, and then you have to go to the installation directory and so on. So I'm going to stop this. So that's why I said don't type this. So let me stop. Right now, ideally, this will create some instances. I need to, clear out the data folder because that will create this one. So, so I will type the command cls to clear the main window, and I want to stay here. So what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to write, I'm going to use some batch command file called start. The idea is we are going to create a separate instance, command line instance. So cmd.exe will create a separate command line with the switch k. And then we put the command within double quotes, the same command that I have typed, and I will share you. You don't have to type this. Mongo D, we will say, okay, in my case, so let me copy paste. So I'm going to use the same command I have typed it earlier. So I will put it here. Right. Now that I have typed this, so let me run, and you can observe that right? So it will open up a new. Okay, there was some error. Okay, so I have some error in my code. So when I pasted yeah, there was an issue, right? I think this is the correct command. Okay, now we will run it. Okay, now you can see, I will share my whole directory, screen one. So what has happened now when I type like this, so you can see it created a separate window, which is what I want, right? So let me share the command now. So you can copy paste the command in your prompt and report me whether it's a success. Right? If you have different data path, you have to change accordingly. So now you can see I have a main window, and I have created one more shell here. One more shell here. Let me separate. Okay, so this is my main window, and here is one instance. Just report me whether it's a success by raising your hands. Right now, if this is a success, now there's no errors in this window in right-hand side. What it means is we have successfully configured the first server. Those who have some issues, if you're getting some errors, you can always copy paste your error in the chat so that I will try my best to help you out. Okay. Madhushan, Jayasekar, Siraj, Rana Singh, if you have any issues, just let me know, right? Okay. Second command, I will first share with you. Just wait what I'm doing. So I'm going to configure the using the same command and I will share it first. So the same thing, but what you have to notice is I'm now using the next port available port number. In previously, if you get an error, you better use different port number. Maybe you will, instead of 17, maybe you can start with 18. In my case, I didn't get any error with 17. Those who get errors, you can try with 18 and see. So right now, since it worked, I'm going to try with my second command, which is the same thing, configuration command. I'm going to use start CMD with /k, which will operate a separate window. And we will run the second server. So I ran it. You can see now I have a third one, right? Right now you can see I have finished 2 servers. I'm still in the main. So let me put the third one as well. Same command, only change is there's a change in the port number because we are running the same machine. And with a different port number and different data folder, you have to focus on 2 places. Your port number should be different and you should have a different data path. Right now, let me run the third one as well. So again, in my case, I didn't get any error. So now you can see my main window is here. And here are the servers. I have completed the first task, that is configuring servers. Those who have successfully finished, please indicate by raising your hands. Okay, which means now we are successfully created our server part. So if I go back to so that means we have finished this part, right? We have finished this part. Okay. The next stage is we want to create shard with the replication. Again, I will share the command. We are going to create a shard. So first one, let me type it here. And then I will share the command. We have to say start cmd.exe. Right. And then we have a switch /k. The command within this, we have MongoD. You don't have to type. I will share the whole command. You have to just copy and wait. Just observe what I'm doing. Now this time I'm going to create, earlier we created chart servers. So sorry, configuration servers. Now we are creating shards servers with the replica set, shard replication set 1. And I'm going to get the next available port. Earlier we have used 17, 18, 19 in my case. So I'm going to get 20. And DB path. Okay, so this time I had to use a different data path, which we create for shards. So data.shard 1. Right. Now, when I press enter, if I'm successful, yes, it's a success. Now, I'm going to, put that right. So you can see without a problem, we were able to run it. So let me share all the 3 commands. So I have put all the 3 commands. You can run one at a time. So let me run the second one now. Again, copy paste. This is shard 2, which will open another window. Then let me open the third one. So I have put inside. So now you can see, in my case, I have completed all the 3 shards. If you have finished up to this point, please let me know now. So we have created the 3 servers. That means 3 configuration servers and then 3 shard servers. So there were only 5 participants raised their hands. I'm just wondering whether others are having issues or what. So let me explain until others are working what we are planning to do. Right now, what we did, we first start with creating 3 or 6 folders to save data for configuration servers and sharded servers. And then we open up instances. We create, 3 configuration servers and 3 shards, right? So which means if you go back to the slide, now we have completed the configuration servers. We created 3 servers and we created the 3 shards. So replication is there and then one of the shard will be the primary, others work as a secondary, which the ideas we have discussed last week as well. Now, what we left is our next command, we should create the router, which is based on Mongo S. And the idea is whenever user make a query, the query will be handled from the router, where it actually send it to different shards, and then it will collect the outcome. Right. So let's run the query router. Again, I will type the command, but you don't have to type. I will share the command. So let me go back. So the third one, we have to work on, right? Query router. Okay, remember this is Mongo S, not Mongo T, right? Mongo S for the query router. We are going to say config db, config db, then config replica sets slash. Now we are going to specify what are the instances with their port numbers. So we have localhost 27,017, then localhost 27,018, and localhost 27,090. Right. And for the query router, let's specify the port number. Next available port number is 27,023. This will, start the query route. I made a mistake. Let me stop and let me run. I think I want to run it in the same. Let me see whether I can stop this. Here will be the problem. Okay, maybe I can keep the command. Otherwise, that might, okay, it shut it down. I hope that will not be a problem for, yeah. Okay, so what I missed in the previous command is I forgot separation. I mean, I want to keep this in same place. So that I actually missed. So the command should start saying start cmd exe /k and with quotes. I'm going to run this. Okay. Yeah, I'm just hoping that it won't create any issues. Okay, so that is the first thing that we want to do. Then now I think we complete everything, right? The command is, let me share the command with you. So for the query router, right? For the query router, what we want to type is this command. So I have put in the chat that command for configuring a query router, which is the router takes user input or the user queries and shared with the shards. And then when they get the results back, put everything compiled into one, right? Okay. Let me know whether you have finished up to this point. Now, if you have finished up to this point, now we have configured all the three servers, the three shards, and also the router. Now setup is ready. Now we can check, we can initiate and we can test each of these servers and shards and the routers. So that's our next step. Okay, right. The next one is, what I want to do next is let's start and we'll go to each of these servers as well as and check the status. I'm going to use the same command. I'm going to get separate window for otherwise this will be complicated. So therefore I will run Mongo shell instance this time. And I'm going to connect to the server first, right? So here we have Mongo SH port 27017, which I connect the first configuration server. So when you connect to the first configuration server, okay, so you connect to the first server. So the command is you have to type rs initiate. We have to check initiate. Right? Which will initiate and it says no config is specified using the configuration set. This is configure replica set. And then we'll say status. So when I put a status, so the right now it says 27,017. Now it's the primary. Right. Now let me share the command with you. Right. Actually, the command is Mongo shell port 27,017, but I want to, without any harm, I want to run it with the same shell. So that's why. So right now, this is my replica set. Right. Let me give you the next one. What you need to type is rs.initiate and then rs.status. Within the window, you have to type rs initiate and rs status. Okay, so let's do the second configuration server as well. So now I'm going to access the second configuration. Okay. I will share the command as well. And within that, I will type rs initiate. And then rs status. So we have 20,080 and it says primary. Right. We have checked both. So here we have the first server. This is the second server. Let's connect to the third server. Command is almost the same except the change of port. Right. Again, we have to say rs.initiate. Status. So you can see here now to 27,019, it put it as a primary. Right. So now we have first access the 3 servers. Similarly, okay, before that, have you finished up this point? Right. Can you indicate whether you have a success up to this point? Please repeat the same for shards as well. So in my case, I have to do the same for the other 3. So I'm going to say first shard, right? I connect it. Here is what I'm going to get. I have shared the command with you. Same thing, rs initiate. And then rs status. So now if you go through this, rs status, shared replica set 1. There are some information you can say. And then it says localhost, the IP, it's primary. You know, that information is there. So this is my first shard. Similarly, let's open up the second one as well. I shared the command. Status. So you see the information is given here as well. So in my case, there's no errors. I have done for 2. Last data shard, let's open up. We are going to do the same. Right. So right now, without any issue, we have finished that one as well. Okay. So here is a command for the last one. Okay, please raise your hand those who have finished up to this point. Right. Make sure you understand at least the theoretical aspect of it. Actually, we could have finished with the theory, but then there's no point. At least you know how the implementation works. So that's why we have the lab session. Right. So let's put the router monitor now. So right now we have this same command, only change the different. Now we are going to connect to the router. And after that one, we are going to use this. So let's connect to the router now. Okay, don't type anything. We have different. This is Mongo S, right? Remember, you can see it's not right. The command we have to type is slightly different, right? So just wait for my instruction. So what we did is Mongo shell. Now we have opened with port number 27023, which is the query router. Now in the router, now we have to define, right? So I will give you the command, but let me first add the first replica set. So sh shard add shard. Within that, we will say, okay, shard replica set 1. This is what we have allocated for the first one. Then we will say local host, which means we are running in the same machine with the port of 27020. Okay, we have added without any problem. You can say shard added, shard replica set 1. So it shows you some information. So you have to get the same command, but you have to change the next one. I have to get replica set 2. Let me share the command. Right? Then we have to do it for second replica set, and the local host is 21. So you can see now we have a second shard. Let's have third one. Right now that we have added shards to the cluster. Now shards are added to the cluster. So now if you are done successfully, finally just type Right, now we have added the shard into clusters. Right? And now you can check the status. So the command is sh.status. Right. Now you can check. There's a detailed information. It says sharding version. Shards, it shows you there are 3 replications in 3 IP addresses. Then there's a balancer. And here are the databases, right? It shows you the information. So now here, for example, you can see there are 3 shards with replica set 1 with localhost 27,020, set 2 with 21, set 3 with 22. Okay, if you finish up to this point, if you are a success, can you please raise your hands? Which means basically we have successfully put everything, right? If you come up to that point, the most difficult part is finished. Now we have set up a cluster and we have configuration servers with the shards and also with the router. Right now, only Sukit were able to come up to that point. Is that the case?
So how to run this Mongo OS window? One line.
So which part you have missed?
The start in the Mongo OS command line.
Mongo shell command line.
Yeah.
Okay, right now, how I got this window is, actually this is my query. That means in my case, I have put the router into port number 27,023. So I have to connect to that to run the 3 commands I have mentioned. So basically you have to start from this. So first you connect to the router, the command, then now I'm repeating again. That means this command. And then you have to add the shards. Siraj, can you check?
Yeah, I'm checking. Yeah, I got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So now you can repeat. So if if it is a success, the last command that I have asked you to type is status of the shard, sh.status, and then it should indicate that, okay, there are 3 shards here. You can see with replication enabled.
Sir, I have to connect separately, or I can run the 3 commands in the same window, shell command.
You at one time, right, in the same shell, you in my case, you can see here.
Yeah.
So once I connected to this, I have first at the first shard like this. And then once I have done it, then I did the second one. Right, then I did the third one. And you can see that there's no errors in my case. And finally, I get the status.
Yes.
Anyone wants to start from the very beginning? One more time, quickly. Sachit, what has happened in your case?
So Dr. when I'm adding the shard, for the first one, it added the second one, and third one, it says that could not find the host machine.
Okay. Actually, I create a batch file I can share with you, where you can try to run everything except the last few commands.
I restart the shared sessions and see, Doctor.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so I can see Naomi managed to finish. Maybe I can stop recording. So let me right now what I have done. Okay, so the right now I'm in the router, and this is the place where we can write any queries. And then once we connect the one, what we did, these are the commands that we did. We said adding the shards, the 3 shards, and then we check the status. And then in my case, it was a success. Right, you can see there are 3 shards added. Now we are ready to move forward. And here what we could do is we can create a database, and we can say that, okay, we can use for sharding. Right now, the point that we want to make here is, once we have this, right, we can create some databases, and then we have to enable some sharding, right? So let me create a database. So the next step, I will use MyDB, which will create to MyDB. Apparently, I think I have. Maybe I should remove them. Right now, let me say DBS. Okay. Okay. Right. Let me create one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my DB. Okay. And let's create a collection. We will say DB create collection users. Okay, right now, we need to enable sharding for the database. So let's enable it. So the command for enabling is enable sharding. I will say my DB. It's a success in my case. So I use my DB, I create a collection called users, I enable the sharding. Now we have to shard the collection also. Now when we use the particular collection, we have to specify the shard key as well. Right now, we have not created any data yet. So maybe we can try inserting some data. So let me put add some data, insert one. Let's say name. You can type anything you want, but make sure that you have name there because I'm going to define the hash key as name. Let's say address. Anyway, I will share this. The code, you don't have to type. Right, you can see we have added that. So let me give you the command. So here is the so let's add few more. Right, I have complete some. Let me share the data with you. So the right now I have put 4 records. So let's shard the collection. So in this particular case, I will say, okay, I'm going to use my DB users. So it asks us to create an index. So let me create the index. Let me check that whether this is created. Yes, it says, okay. Now let me go back to enable sharding again. My DB, yep. Let me put into collection. Yeah, okay. So the command that I have used with the indexed, because I have created the created index, and then I have actually used that. Right. Let me share you the commands that I have used so far. First of all, we created a database MyDB, and then we have insert couple of users, and then we created the index. So let me share the command for that. And then we enable sharding for the database. And then we have, set up the sharding collection for users as well. Okay. The next one that I would like to, show you is when we query the database, what will happen now? Because now the data will be in different shards, ideally. But remember that we have only 4. We might not see exactly we expect. So let's query this first. So for example, to see all the users, we can say DB users find. Okay, so here are what we have right now. Right, we have 4 records, but we don't see from where we get this data, right? Isn't it? Because it's looks as coming from one place, but ideally what happens within the background, the data coming from different shards, isn't it? Because this is now distributed, the data will be in different. So now, if you want to know exactly from where we are getting, right, that means we can use what we call the explain method, the detailed information about the query execution. So the same command, use explain. And this should give us information about the query execution. For example, let's go back and see. This should give us a shard name, which shard process the request, and who responsibility handle this one, right? Okay, so let's go back and see. If you go back in this particular case, right? Okay. So here they explain, and it says query planner, and then we have single shard. The shard name is shard replication set 2. Remember, we had set 3 sets, set 1, set 2, set 3, right? And then in this particular case, we are getting from set 2, and then we get from this, right? You can see it's coming from the second one. So we can rerun and see whether we are going to get in the same. So in this particular case, yes. Okay. But you see now it's coming from shard 2. We have, 3 shards in this particular case. Ideally, if you have like more data points, maybe you can try this, adding more users. When I actually first try this, I have noticed, it combines from multiple shards as well. So in this case, it says single shard. So maybe we could try some more data. No, I mean, like let me add some more. So I have few more data points in my trial run. Let me check Okay. Okay, so this is the outcome. Let me check with explain. Okay, so this time also we get it from single shard. But you can just try and report me your findings, because now when we run different queries, you might get different outcomes, right? Now, if you want to see how the data is actually distributed in different charts, there's a command. Let's check, for example, in this particular case, how that happens. For example, in this particular case, let me say DB users and then get shard distribution. So you can see some information is here. Let me go back. Okay, so this is the user distribution. So data, replica set 2, localhost. Okay, this is the place where actually the data is actually stored. So the right now we see everything is stored there. That's why we are getting, outcome. Maybe I can add few more and see whether there's a change. Usually it should be, because this is exactly what we want. The data will be replicated, and also, so let me check, add one more. Yes, it's success. Okay, still same. One more. Okay, so maybe we have to try, a couple of more times and see what is actually happened in this particular case. Let me check whether any command that we can actually balance this. Let me check. Okay, right. Now, a couple of things you could try now. What we did so far is we just find the documents. And then the second thing we tried is adding some documents as well as see what happens. Actually, what you should be doing is you should do this in insert operation multiple times, and you should check the distribution. It should ideally be distributed in other replica set as well, right? Now, since without that sharing in the shards, you can check what will happen when you have, for example, comparisons. Like, for example, in this case, we have age. Let's say we could try things like the users whose age between 25 and 35. Now, originally, what we had like this, different users, right? 35, 30, 29, 31, 33. Okay, so let me try some other query. Again, just to see how that handle. We have users, and let's find out. Okay, let's say age is, let's say, greater than 25, and let's say less than 32. So you will get, okay, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have altogether about 8, I guess. And then you can use explain. Right? And this should give us how exactly it's executed. Now, the problem with us is now the data is stored in one single. So that's why it says single shard. So the problem right now is our data is not actually distributed among the other two shards, which I want to see exactly what has happened. One thing you could do is you can include, since we have only very few records, that might be one reason. But then ideally, you should see that it actually should be distributed other one as well. Right? One reason is for that there will be a splitting criteria where that might be an issue, but I have observed earlier when I planned this for the same problem, that actually it's shared among multiple shards, and then the stage is called, now in this particular case I actually got single shard, but it says merge shard, which means you are getting data from multiple shards. Okay, I think that's all what I have for today's session. And with that session, I will conclude the practical session for MongoDB. We have started looking at the basis of MongoDB and also the replication last time and sharding this week. So we are going to look at more on big data analytics in next week. Before we conclude, anything that you would like to discuss, we can have a few more minutes, otherwise we'll finish for today. By the way, how many of you were success up to at least up to this point? Anyone managed to together with me just by looking at least adding users and also getting explanation and getting information of sharding details? Sukit, what happened to you? Got stuck in the middle? What about Naomi?